Welcome to Voices of the Vigilant, where we dive deep into the human side of tech. Here, we go beyond the ones and zeros to explore the people, passions, and stories driving the cyber and internet security world. In each episode, we bring together experts, rebels, and innovators from across the tech industry to share their personal journeys, challenges, and victories. And here's your host and rebel in charge at Vigilant Violet, Jess Vachon.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Voices of the Vigilant. I am so happy, so excited to have my special guest today, Sivan Tehila, CEO and founder of Onyxia Cyber. She is more than just the CEO and founder of this company, but I'm going to let her tell you all about herself. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Jess. It's super exciting to be here. I was really looking forward to it. And as you said, my name is Sivan Tehila. I'm the CEO and the founder of Onyxia Cyber. But I really started my career as a practitioner. And I was a cybersecurity officer in the Israeli military for 10 years. As part of my work there, I was the CISO of the Research and Analysis Division and the head of the Information Security Unit for the Intelligence Corps. Later, I worked for other defense industries, critical infrastructures, and at some point I shifted into the startup world. I fell in love with the idea of building security products and help companies improve their security posture with technology. And I identified a problem that I have experienced and I really wanted to solve, and we can talk about this more later. And in parallel to my work in the previous startup, I also started to develop security courses for a master's degree in cybersecurity at Yeshiva University, the CAT School of Science and Health. And that's how I also became the program director eventually for this incredible program. And I would be more than happy to share more about my experience with academia as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that is a huge list of accomplishments. But before I dive into that, I know everyone's going to ask, please explain where you get the name for your company.
Yeah, so when we started the company, I was thinking a lot about like the problem we're trying to solve, but also how I'm not going to name it like another standard cybersecurity company, which is something, right? So when I was young, I used to play World of Warcraft, and I'm sure some of the people in the audience could relate to how much fun that was. And one of my favorite characters was an Onyxia. Onyxia had a human form and a dragon form, and she could adjust based on the evolving environment. So that's how the name and the ID came up. What we do at Onyxia Cyber is to help companies and security leaders to adjust their security programs and strategies based on the evolving threats. And that was the idea behind it. But it's not just the name. The inspiration behind the colors and the design of the platform itself is also based on the game. So that's the story.
Yeah, I love that story. I love that you are a gamer. I'm a gamer. I think probably a lot of people that will listen to this podcast are gamers. I think a lot of people in our industry are gamers because they want that. It's kind of a balance, right? You have this very serious job you do all day. You're super focused on it. It's all about protecting everything. And then you get to go into a game and just let your mind go and be something completely different. So I love that. I have been able to test out your platform, and what I love is that you've developed kind of a sandbox area with data built into it so that potential customers don't have to connect directly in the system and sign non-disclosure agreements and do all of that. They can go in and actually learn about what the product looks like and how it adapts and how it changes. Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. And I think maybe I'll start with talking more about the value that we bring to clients and like how the playground can really serve them. What I realized over the years of experience as a CISO and after working very closely with CISOs is that it's becoming very hard not only to keep up with the solutions we have in place, but also with the data that we have in each one of those solutions. And we talk in security about the basics of a layered security approach and defense in depth, and we implement solutions on top of solutions, and it's becoming very hard to understand how those solutions really serve the business. The other part of it is that we have always new regulations coming in, and we have, for example, the new SEC regulation that require companies not only to disclose incidents in 4 days, but also to disclose security programs and strategies. And we have those regulations, but we don't have industry standard. We don't know what they're expecting us to report on. And that's really how the idea of building Onyxia came up. We consider Onyxia as a governance platform or management platform. But what I really like to hear from a client last week or 2 weeks ago, that they see Onyxia as the operating system for security teams, the ability to really manage the security initiatives under one umbrella when the security team are all aligned in the same mission and strategy and goals. I'm sure you're also, based on your military experience, you know how important it is to always be aligned on the mission and goals. And like we always come back to this, but when you have so much going on as a security expert, it's very, very hard. So we developed this. I think what is nice about the platform is that every conversation that we're having with CISOs, regardless if they're clients or not, we'll learn and we implement some new things and some new ideas. The idea of the playground came from you. I remember that we had an initial conversation, and it's not sometimes easy, or given the busy schedule of a CISO, starting to figure out how to come up with a POC and integrate your internal data. It's hard. So we literally developed this playground in order to make it easier for you and others to really try the platform. We see a huge success with this. I mean, it makes it gets us more visibility into some new clients and their needs, and it's a great way to open a conversation about the whole concept of governance and security management and becoming the operating system for security teams.
Yeah, so a couple things there. One thing that I want to talk about is the commander's intent, or the commander's ability to gather as much information as possible in a military aspect, right? So the more information you have, the quicker you have it, the quicker you can execute on your decisions, and you can back those up with some degree of certainty on what you're doing. What I like about your platform is it's that single pane of glass for the CISO, so they have all the information available to them at any point in time. But beyond that, they can run metrics in real time, and they can report those to the rest of the executive team or to the board risk committees or the board as a whole, and they can be very accurate on the information they have. From the first time I looked at the platform to the last time, I think it was maybe a month ago, the growth of the platform, the integrations is really incredible. And for CISOs, and I know you know this because you've sat in that chair and had the experience, that ease of access to that information is so critical. And I think that's what is really unique about your platform. So in a form of endorsement, I guess, if you're a CISO and you're out there looking for something to simplify your life, this is one of those products you absolutely should take a look at, because it's going to make your life that much more easier to walk through. And we need that because we have so many things coming at us on a daily basis, that anything that improves and automates the collection of the information, distribution of the information is certainly a place to go. The other aspect, and I don't think another company that wasn't founded and led by a former CISO could do this, is every time I asked you a question about the platform, can it do this? Can it do this? Because you'd already been a CISO, you had already asked yourself those questions. You'd already put it into the product. So that's a plus too, right? Because this isn't someone who just randomly had an idea and slapped some software together and said, oh, this is a new product you can bring in and you can add it to the rest of your product portfolio. No, this is a CISO who said, I've been through the struggle. I'm frustrated with the options that are out there. I'm going to build something that I would want to use that would make my life better. So no need for a response on that. That's pretty much a commentary on what I've seen. And I'm excited about the growth that I've seen in your product and the potential of where it's going to go. It's really incredible. I think you've got a great team assembled around you. And like I said, I don't usually, prop up products, especially not on the podcast, but this is an exception to that rule, I believe. Want to change things up a little bit. You went through an extensive list of things that you do or have done. It is incredible. What you've described is, for some people, like if it was me, that would be my entire lifetime of work, right? You've done it in a relatively short period of time. What do you think contributed to that success in such a short period of time?
So I think if I look back at my career and like the different stages of my career, and I have many discussions about this with my students as well. I started in the military, and in the military in Israel, they basically decide for you what you're gonna do. I don't think that I would end up in cybersecurity if I didn't have this opportunity, and I'm very grateful for that. But it also made me think how we can expose more people to cybersecurity as a profession, because it's such an incredible opportunity for people to grow and develop a career in the field. And most of the time, we see that that students or people in young age, they're not really exposed to this type of profession. So I think after I had this opportunity to grow and I fulfilled different positions, I realized that there are many different ways to do things. And one of the best ways is to build a career strategy and to understand and try to assess where you want to be in 5 or 6 or 10 years from now, and what are the steps that you need to take in order to get there. And I do this exercise with our students when they're taking their internships, when they decide what kind of internship to take or what kind of certificates they need to take. We're breaking down their goals, and that's how we basically come up with those ideas. So I think after I retired from the Army and I joined a cybersecurity startup, it opened my eyes to another new world that I didn't know before, because the Army gives you the opportunity to do so many things in a very young age, which is amazing. And sometimes, like, looking back, I don't even believe I've done those things when I was so young. Maybe that's the key. Like, you're not overthinking when you're young, so you're just doing whatever they tell you to do. But I think I really love the idea that you can build actual technologies and build things from scratch and create an impact in the world that really, simplify people's job, or, like, even more important than that, help companies to be more secure. And I think any decision I made when it comes to my career, I always had to feel that that I'm doing something that is meaningful, that I'm doing something with purpose. For me, building Onyxia is really like the vision and the idea of, like, as you said, simplify CISO's positions and make their life a little bit easier, and by that help them achieve better resilience for their own company. When it comes to cyber education, for me, I also see that as a mission I'm very passionate about, because I was lucky to have an opportunity to get exposed to cybersecurity, but many students didn't have this opportunity. And especially women, we see that women make up 25% of the cybersecurity workforce. I mean, I'm sitting here with you, and I'm very happy to, when I met you, I was so inspired and impressed by your journey. But it's not something that we see often, maybe more now, but hopefully the numbers will increase. But that's how the idea of being involved more in education came up. And I think the ability to not only structure an academic program that is meaningful for students, but also a program that helps them understand how it can help them develop a meaningful career, it's something that I was really busy with. And before I became a program director in our cybersecurity master's degree, I actually developed a program for high school. And it was a high school for girls in New York because I thought, I mean, they really need to get this exposure to this type of profession right before they're making a decision on what they're going to study in college. And that was 2 years when I was actually like literally teaching in a high school an hour or two a week and on Fridays just to kind of, give back to the community and my way. And I was very happy and excited about the opportunity to also take a more significant role in the university and become a program director there. And one of the things that we've done there was not only to develop, the academic courses, but also to make sure that everything we're teaching is really connected to the field. And we have professors that are industry leaders. They have their day job. They're practitioners. They bring their experience and real world experience and knowledge to the students based on their day-to-day experiences and scenarios. We developed a SOC for students, a Security Operations Center for students to practice real-world scenarios, whether it's red team, blue team exercises, or whether it's just experiencing what it means to configure a firewall, like all those basic things that it's very hard to teach in an academic program unless you have a lab or a place where you can really get them this hands-on experience, because we see that at the end of the day, hiring managers really care mostly about the hands-on experience and the real experience that people are bringing in. We see great results so far on this part. Regarding Onyxia and the company, I think, like you said, things have evolved since we started. I started really with the vision to solve this problem that I've experienced. We have so many security tools. We have so much data. We have regulations. We need to keep up with all of this. And we don't have one place to manage everything. We see that traditional GRC solutions are mainly focusing on risk and compliance, but not governance. And governance, that's our job as CISOs. On the other end, we see that all those, great products, right? But SIM solutions, MDR, XMDR solutions, they wanted to become a main dashboard for CISOs, but they can't because it's just way too much noise. You're not going to get there every day. So what is it? What is this dashboard or platform where CISOs can really say, okay, that's what I need? But most of the time, CISOs don't want no one to get another dashboard for them. They want to make sure that it's something that is meaningful for the whole team. And that's where Onyxia comes in. It's literally operating system for security teams. You come as a CISO, you define your day-to-day priorities, your high-level mission, your goals, your KPIs, and everyone are aligned with on this. And whenever, I'm sure it's part of your day-to-day too, and like you sometimes ask your people questions and then they need to go and aggregate data from so many places. But Onyxia really gives everyone the ability to get this data, these simple answers to not so simple questions. And we allow everyone to work around one platform. For CISOs, we allow to also lead with transparency, whether it's with their teams or executive. And we see that this is becoming something that is much needed. And if like few years ago it was a nice to have thing, now it's becoming something that is crucial for the ongoing operational effectiveness of the security team. And by that, basically we're enabling the business. So I know I covered many things, but hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, and then some. That was great. The program that you are part of at Yeshiva University, that graduate program, is one of the top rated in the nation. And you talked about how the program's built and what you're doing and why the program is so successful. Why do you think other colleges and universities aren't following the model that you and your peers have set there?
We were really ranked as one of the top cybersecurity programs out there, and we're very proud of it. There are other great colleges and universities offering grad program. I think our competitive advantage is really the security operations center that we have established, with the ability to provide students hands-on experience and access to cutting edge technologies. So when they go and they land their first job, it's not the first time they're getting exposed to a SIM solution and how it works, or a firewall, or like all these things. I think we also built the program in a way that allows people from different backgrounds to join and really find their place. So we see that, we have career changers sometimes, but we also have IT managers who wants to get into security, and they have more technical knowledge than others. So we start with, first or two semesters of like very basics, like foundations of cybersecurity. And then we allow students to choose electives based on what they're willing to focus on. So if it's more of a forensics role, they'll have the ability to take more courses around in this area. Or if you want to become a GRC leader, obviously you want to do you want to take more of like the business oriented courses. And we also help them to build, as I mentioned, a very customized cybersecurity career strategy. So we help them to look at the syllabus, to take the core courses and electives that are relevant for them, but also we offer them to take certificates as part of the program. So we give them the CISSP training, which is really part of the program. We give them the CCSK, which is certified cloud security knowledge by ISACA, and the CISSP is by ISC Square. So we're really giving them the opportunity to take the top certificates, exams out there. On top of that, they're getting their master's degree with hands-on experience. And I think this combination, with the fact that we help them develop a network with our professors that are industry leaders, I think this combination is really the power behind, the success of the program.
I've long advocated for companies to take the opportunity to do on-the-job training. As a hiring manager for graduates coming out of school, what I've always looked for is, have they had any hands-on real-world experience? And it's so hard for new graduates out of a BA program, or even sometimes graduates out of a graduate program, to get that experience, especially if they're switching careers. So it is terrific to hear that the program that you're part of builds that into the curriculum, builds that experience piece in there, and it's real time, real world experience. It's not dated, because a lot of these people that go through programs, the programs are lagging by 1 or 2 years. As you know, in the technological world that we live in, things are moving so fast, like 9 to 12 months, things are changing. When I started in my career a long time ago, they changed in terms of years, 2 or 3 years. So it's much more accelerated now. And with AI here now, things are going to go that much faster. So having relevant skills, real world skills, along with the relevant training is vital to that success. When we talk about people doing career transitions, I want to press you a little bit on that. What message would you have to people making those career transitions from something completely not technology related into cybersecurity, for those that may be apprehensive about it, or those who think they can do it, but they have a non-traditional background. What would you tell those people?
Yeah, I think I will answer that with an example of like a success story that we had in our school. I often get those very, many questions from career changers before they join. They're very, they're concerned that maybe it's not the right thing for them. So the first advice will be to just go and do a research. Do a research on what is it to be a CISO, what a day-to-day of a CISO looks like. Is this something you see yourself doing? If yes, so you can come here. And obviously, same thing with other different positions. We have a professor in our program. His name is Kevin Sukel. He's incredible. And he was a student in our program. He was a student while he was a police officer in the NYPD. So he worked there on, other things, but he was so curious and so excited about the opportunity to get into cybersecurity. And he basically made the decision to join the program. And he knew that he's very excited about the forensics part. I think, he turned out to become one of our best students. Obviously, he landed very quickly an amazing job in the forensic space in one of the big four. He became, after that, a professor in our program, and is often running the Catch the Flag competitions that we're running. And it's just so amazing to see how a student who came with a background who not very related to what he's doing, but there are some things he could find, right? Like, obviously, when you're a police officer, there are some aspects in forensics that, you could apply. So I always tell students, if you're curious enough, ambitious enough, doing the research before you join, there is no reason why you won't succeed. Obviously, if you're not sure, I think the way to get clarity is to get answers to questions and speak to people. But we do have amazing success stories, and Kevin is now one of the most incredible professors that we have. Is a security practitioner, and students are really enjoying to hear, his perspective and the story, which is really inspiring.
It's interesting. Some of the top performers I've found in cybersecurity have that background in law enforcement and specifically in the forensics area. So it's something about the way I think they think, and they walk through problems that lends itself to information security. And that's terrific. I like that you highlighted that non-traditional role, because I work with a lot of people that are coming from non-traditional backgrounds. Accounting, lawyers, bartenders, right? From the service industry. So many people from the service industry are really great for working in information security. And that might seem odd to some people, but a lot of what we do, as you know, is education, it's teaching, it's revisiting topics, it's being advisors. So, let's go back to the bartender example, right? The bartender is having to put out great customer service, effectively communicate, doing a little bit of selling all the time, and doing a lot of listening and understanding as part of the success of their roles. So if you're out there and you're listening to this episode, know that there are really no limitations to you coming into the information security field. And there's many different branches and avenues for success within that field. And then when you're in it, you don't have to become a CISO, right? A lot of the top companies that are out there have created alternate paths where you become a senior fellow in information security. So you can attain as much technical knowledge or governance, risk, and compliance knowledge as possible. You can be at the top of your game, and you can still be at that peer level of the CISO. And in a lot of circumstances, it's probably more job security than the CISO, and probably more job satisfaction. And you have the pleasure of being able to share your information with others. You covered a lot about giving back. Where does that come from in either your upbringing or just who you are as a person or the experiences you've had? Because you are very passionate about that. Just from listening to what you've said, it sounds like 25 to 35% of your time is spent giving back. That's on top of being a parent. That's on top of being a professor. That's on top of running a company, founding and running a company. So, what makes you tick under all of this? Because it's incredible what you're doing.
Well, thanks, Jess. And I feel the same about you. And we had many conversations about this, right? Like I think when you're passionate about something, you find a ways to do that and give back. I always talk about the difference between a work-life balance and work-life harmony. We often hear that work-life balance, that's the goal, but balance is something that is very tricky because you can't be 50% in one place and 50% in another place and always, manage that. The concept of harmony is to be in the right place in the right time based on the different needs. So if your family needs you at a certain time, you know that that's when you need to focus on. If your business needs you more, so your family will probably understand that, but you have the ability to really manage the time in a way that really makes things be successful and allow you the focus to be fully present with what you're doing. And I think that was something that helped me over the years to manage all those things. Speaking about past experiences, so I think I was also very fortunate to meet really good people along the way that opened doors for me and supported me in many, many things. After retiring after my military service, moving from military to the private sector is very, very hard because everything is different. The language, even the systems you're using. I remember the first time I used Slack, I was so amazed that people are actually using this to communicate, right? Also, the ability to work from everywhere is something that is very new. When you're in the military, you have all the rules and everything is on-prem. So everything was so different. And it really took me time to transition, but I had to first, make some effort in order to get used to the new industry standards and technologies, and also understanding how I can apply the knowledge that I've gained in order to be really beneficial and helpful for the companies I'm working for. And I had to do that with, surrounding myself with the relevant people, and many people really helped me along the way. Same with the academia, David Schwed is a good friend, but he was really a mentor. And after, transitioning from the military to the industry, the private sector, I had to also move to a new country. And that's another, challenge. And then here, when I moved to New York, that's actually what led me also to build Leading Cyber Ladies in New York. It was an opportunity to build a network, but I got to know so many great people that really are part of my journey until today. When I started the company, same thing, finding the right investors who I'm very grateful for, and advisors. Rinki Sethi is an inspiration for me, and she's a powerhouse, not just supporting me, but so many other founders and female entrepreneurs and security leaders in the industry. So anytime I meet someone who helps me and inspire me, I really have this need to give it back and move it forward and do that for others. And who knows, maybe one day those students that I'm teaching today will become, for sure, they'll become the next generation of CISOs and security leaders. And you can never know how those things really, come back to you. So I think that's really the drive behind this.
I love that. And that's such a great reward, I think, that we get when we mentor others or lead others or coach others. It's watching the success that they have. And we don't think about it sometimes, but when we have staff that work with us, or we're helping someone in their career, it's not just that person we're affecting, right? We're affecting their entire family and potentially generations of their families, because they're given an opportunity. We help them to grow in that opportunity, and their success translates to success of their family or their loved ones. So for me, at least, seeing that happen is so rewarding. It's so fulfilling on a personal level, and it fills what I need for as my purpose, um, for being alive, right? For going through this time period. This show's about rebels, and obviously you're doing a lot of stuff that is rebel oriented. I like to understand where that comes from. What were you like as a kid? And what influences did you draw from your parents that make you who you are today?
So I think life made me become very independent in a very young age. Um, I don't know if I shared it with you ever before, but I lost my father when I was 12. And my father was 30, my father was 39, my mom was 39, and she stayed with like 4 kids. I was the oldest. So it was like obviously an experience that shaped my I think my life, my career, my journey. But I was really the one who had to take care of my siblings when my mom was working. After it happened, she had to really change her own career because she needed more independency in her life to manage everything. And then she started a business. It was a fashion store that she opened. And I remember that I used to go to school as a teenager in the morning, and then afternoon, I used to go help, like taking my siblings out of their schools, taking care of them. And then I used to go to work in the store when my mom came back to spend some time with my siblings. So that was my reality for like many years until I joined the army. And I think, it was obviously challenging, but it was really something that shaped me. I realized that I have to be very independent, to take care of myself, to make sure that I always create opportunities for myself. I learned from my mom how to turn, a challenge into something that can really help her be independent and manage her own schedule. Then she started with one store. Eventually, it became like multiple stores, and it was a very successful business that she stayed with until she retired. But I think that's really what made me feel like, okay, you can overcome many different things. You can overcome many challenges. And I think that's probably the story that shaped me the most. And obviously, I mean, the military service is another really, meaningful experience. And I served for 10 years. So obviously, that's also affected my career moving forward.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that was quite personal, but I think it's important because it allows people to understand what you need to draw from in this field, and especially to achieve the heights that you've achieved. Um, that's great. Your mother sounds like an amazingly strong woman, and you can see how that definitely passed down to you. And I'm sure your siblings are grateful for your fortitude as well. Um, so now I have what's called an empowering question I like to ask my guests. So I'm going to throw this out to you. Is there something in your life that makes you forget time while you're doing it?
So I think it's just as simple as just spending time with my daughter, which, um, I think everything I'm doing is really, I mean, first to set an example for her and to support her on her journey in this world, to become a successful woman, businesswoman if she wants to, and create opportunities for herself. And I think, she's really one of the things that drives me every day to be a better person, a better professional, maybe more successful as much as I can. And And when I'm with her, I kind of really, I'm grateful for everything I'm doing and for the time I have with her. So that's the simple answer. I can think about other things, but that's the first thing that came up to my mind.
That's a great answer. Any hobbies that I don't even know if you have time for hobbies with everything you do, but any hobbies you do outside of your professional work?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about pedal boarding. I find that as my active meditation. I started doing that actually after my daughter was born. I was looking for a little bit more of an extreme a way to exercise. So I started to pedal in the ocean in Israel. It's not the ocean, it's like the Mediterranean Sea, but it was, it's different than now I'm doing pedal boarding on the Hudson. But I find it very meditative. It's like just me on the water exercising. And there is something about pedal boarding that is also, it keeps you really sharp and focused. You always need to plan in advance, like the strategy for the pedal, like where I'm going to pedal, if the wind is behind me, when I'm like coming back, like there are so many factors you need to consider. So I like that part. And obviously in the water, you realize that everything you planned is really worth nothing because that's life. So it's kind of like the story of my life, right? Like startup, my hobbies, and, my personal life are always, I'm trying to plan them. It's not always working out, but it's an amazing experience so far. And I do enjoy the uncertainty often. So, that's my hobby.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for bringing your whole person, not just to our talk here, but to the audience that's going to listen to this podcast later. It's so important that people know what helps us to get to where we're at in our career, but more so what makes us tick, who we are outside of the work we do. So you've shared three great personal items in the last few minutes, and I'm so appreciative for that. We're about at the end of the podcast. Where are you going to be? What are you going to be doing in the next few months? And how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so obviously the best way to follow me will be LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. I'm very responsive there, and I'm sharing many of our activities there. I'll be at RSA next week if someone wants to meet up there. And we're always hosting events and bringing together security leaders to our events. So again, you can follow our website, my LinkedIn, our LinkedIn page, and I'm more than happy to make more connections and see if I can be helpful in a way for anyone who's listening.
Great. And I think you mentioned going to Boston sometime soon. Correct?
All right. We have an event in Boston. I think it's May 14th. And we have another event in New York in May 8th. So those are the upcoming events that we're hosting. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So if you're in Boston or New York, get a hold of Sivan and get connected to one of those events and check out the platform, or just meet this amazing individual and make a network connection there. We're at the end of our time. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. Really appreciate your time, and best of continued success to you, although I don't think you need it. You're just an amazing individual. And that's the show for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Voices of the Vigilant. If you liked what you heard today, please subscribe and leave a review in your favorite podcast app. For a copy of the transcript, to follow Jess, to apply as a guest of the show, or to learn more about services from Vigilant Violet, please visit vigilantviolet.com. Until next time, stay vigilant.